Hi there, Altenew friends. Welcome to the last perfect pairing video of 2021. To recap, Altenew has released so many exciting crafty items, and I'm so glad to have what I have in my stash. In this video, I'm going to narrow down my top 10 favorites in 10 categories and make 3 cards using them. Make sure to check out the description box for links directly to my 10 Altenew favorites of 2021. Let's jump right into the first set of favorites that I have for 2021. This year, Altenew released 2 new sets of dye inks. One of them is the Frozen Delights family of inks. This comes in a cube of 6. Its sibling will make an appearance later. This is the Jewel Tones. But for now, I'll focus on this set of 6 inks for my first card project. What I really love about both of these sets of inks is that they really supplement your layering crisp inks. So now you have some true value variation between your already existing Altenew ink stash. Off camera, I already ink blended with my larger ink blending tool Strawberry, Orange Sorbet, Lemon Ice, Pistachio, Mint Chalk, and Blueberry. And to accompany my favorite dye ink release of the year, I'll use my favorite set of dyes released in 2021, which is the Crafty Flower Antique Rose. I love the dimension that you get from this set of layering dyes, and its ease of use for getting really beautiful and dimensional flowers and foliage. So I will arrange my dyes as shown. So my darkest floral layer will be Strawberry, followed by Orange Sorbet, Lemon Ice, and then my lightest highlight layer will be just a panel of white cardstock. Then for my base leaf layer, I'll use Pistachio, followed by Mint Chalk, and then the darkest layer will be Blueberry. This is the final assembly for my rose after layering the ink blended panels of cardstock as well as the white highlights. Now, toward the end of this year, Altenew released a new product category, which I thought was very exciting because it made me buy one of the hot foil systems. So one of my favorites for this year is the Splatter hot foil plate. I think it makes a beautiful, effortless, but bold background to any card. So after running the Splatter hot foil plate through my system, I ended up with this background. And I used this opalescent foil to coordinate with the Frozen Delights mini ink set. To complement this floral arrangement comes my next favorite for the year. Sentiment stamps are a staple in any crafty stash, and I think a good hello set is good because it's all encompassing, and I really love this modern hello. And I really love this modern hello because it suits any occasion and anyone. So the brush letter font layers beautifully on top of this Helvetica type hello. And there are all of these smaller coordinating sentiments to really suit and further enforce any occasion that you want. So I'm going to stamp this sentiment on one of the offcuts from Crafty Flower Antique Rose. And I'll use the Strawberry to Orange Sorbet segment just for a little bit of interest. So first I white heat embossed the friend portion of the sentiment onto my offcut. Then using this large real estate on the hello portion of the sentiment, I'll do a gradient stamp using Strawberry on the bottom portion of the hello. Then I'll use Orange Sorbet on the top portion, so that my end result is a tone-on-tone gradient stamp for my sentiment banner. So here's my final sentiment banner to sit on top of my card. And now it comes for the final assembly. I thought I liked that there, but I'm going to try my best to hide that. So after arranging the floral elements and the sentiment banner, I added a few of these satin white sequins. So after adding a few of the iridescent splatters, I actually ended up spraying the card itself just a few times just to see what would happen. And I ended up really liking the end result. So just as a recap for this card, I used my favorite hot foil plate, that's the Splatter hot foil plate, Modern Hello, stamp set as my favorite sentiment stamp set. For my favorite die set, I have Craft a Flower Antique Rose. And of course, this was all done in one of my new favorite color palettes. And that's the Frozen Delight set of 6 mini ink cubes. So earlier I shared the Frozen Delights set of 6 mini ink cubes. Accompanying that release is the Jewel Tones 6 mini ink cubes. And again, I really like this release of inks because they add a greater value of range to complementary ink sets. So what I mean by that, if I pull out Red Cosmos, is now I can deepen or extend my ink family by adding in Strawberry all the way to Rhodolite. So now I can use this set of 4 or this set of 4 and create a variation of value in any of my Build-A-Flower layering sets or any of the layering floral sets. So in my opinion, that's why I really enjoy these 2 new sets of inks to the Altenew ink family, is because, like I showed you earlier, they look beautiful on their own, but they also really supplement your existing stash. So in this card, I will focus on the Jewel Tone ink family. And off camera, I already made a background with my favorite stencil of this year. I made a roughly 2/3 panel of the Shattered Cubes Builder Stencil set. And I simply followed this layering example here to create my background with the Jewel Tone family of inks. The first thing I did was apply a background of raw amber. Then I used red jasper and rhodolite on the first stencil for this outer layer. Then I used green onyx and tanzanite on the second stencil for this inner square. And that finishes this mid-mod inspired background for my card. Now, I made this look like a wallpaper, and to finish this scene, I'm going to add a flooring area but leave a margin for a baseboard. And one of the things I actually neglected to mention was to apply the ink, I used these new mini ink blending tools. Over the years, Altenew has released an array of ink blending tool types. So here I have the large ink blending tool, the small set of 4 ink blending tools, the mini ink blending tools, which I love for this year, and then also the detail blending brushes. In my stash, I have 10 of these. I have 8 of the small ink blending tools, one for each color family, a brown and a black. And hopefully soon I will fill my stash with 7 more of these for a total of 8. So that I have a light, mid, dark, and darkest ink blending tool for all 8 color families. So that's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, brown, and black. So that I really never have to clean my ink blending tools, and I'll find little adhesive dots to label the bottom of these. But anyway, to complete this background, now that I've got an area taped off for a baseboard, I'm going to use the only ink I haven't used yet on this entire background panel, which is green opal. And I will apply just a light halo on the edges of the card, and also down from the washi tape, just so that I'm left with an area for the baseboard. And I really love these blending brushes. I find that they fit really comfortably in my hand. And just like the rest of the Altenew ink blending brushes, the fibers are dense, so that I get really beautiful and soft gradients even when I'm blending from an ink color over into white, or whatever my background color is, my cardstock color is. And for me, it's really effortless. So now I have a pretty intense retro color for my floor. And when I peel off my washi tape, I'm left with this lovely halo. So for now, I'll set this aside. And that brings me to my next non-floral, non-sentiment stamp. So this orange label here means that this stamp comes from the nature category from Altenew. There are 7 categories, if you're unaware of that, and they're all indicated by this label. So that's floral, edible, occasion, original, geometric, sentiment, and then nature. If I picked a favorite out of all 7 categories, this would be a really long video. So I just opted to pick a favorite floral, which you have yet to see, a favorite sentiment, which was the Modern Hello layering stamp set, and of course this Pots and Plants outline stamp set, because it reminds me of my own personal collection at home. I love the illustrations of these aroid looking plants. And what I did was I already stamped 2 of the images from this stamp set in green opal onto some watercolor cardstock. So what I used were some offcuts of this watercolor paper pad that I had in my scrap drawer. And after using the coordinating dies to these stamps, I went ahead and cut them out. And then what I'm going to do is some really quick watercoloring with the coordinating dye ink. So I'm going to press some of this green opal onto an acrylic block. Then I'm going to use an Altenew water brush to hydrate the ink and really quickly color in these leaves. I'm not going for anything exact. I just want to distinguish and highlight the leaves of these potted plants. And just to keep this a little bit more interesting, I'm going to add a little bit of rhodolite to my ink block, just to mimic the color palette of some of the dracaenas I have in my collection of actual live plants. So after roughly coloring or watercoloring both of these images, I'll start the assembly of my potted plant scene. So I finished this card by assembling my scene. I foam mounted my focal plant points and then added my sentiment to the bottom right corner of my card. And again, I'll recap the favorites that I used in this card. So this is Shattered Cubes as my background, and I'm featuring the other set of inks, the jewel tone inks, in the set of 12. My favorite non-sentiment, non-floral stamp sets, so that's the Pots and Plants stamp and die set. And of course my favorite crafty tool for this year, and it's going to be another staple of mine, are these mini ink blending tools. And I can't wait to add more of these to my collection so that I have a complete set for all the ink blending techniques that I like to do on layering sets, for example. I remember when I first started crafting, one of the first things I struggled with finding was a really good wood grain tree bark type background. And Altenew has a good selection. They have the wood grain white cardstock, a brown cardstock, and a powder cardstock in this wood grain texture. But I like to be able to pick from my colored cardstock stash instead of ink blending, and then using a 3D embossing folder to give me that wood grain texture. And Altenew's solution to that is the tree bark 3D embossing folder, and this became one of my favorite embossing folders of the year. So what I ended up doing was picking through my colored cardstock stash, and I dry embossed onto this peach colored cardstock. Everybody's crafting budgets are different. I completely understand that. And one of the wonderful things about the Mini Delight stamp subscriptions is that you get a really small but powerful stamp set that encompasses the 7 categories of Altenew's shop. So this one is part of the nature set, but it's the Mini Delight Be Kind, and all the Mini Delights come with the coordinating die and a stamp set. And I felt like this layering bee image always coordinates with any of your flowers. On a scrap piece of vellum, I already white heat embossed the main body image, and I've aligned the next layer onto the main bee image. And then what I've done is gold heat embossed on top of that with the second layer to the bee image. So then I'll use the coordinating die that comes with all the Mini Delight sets to cut out this image. So far I've covered 9 of my favorites, and one of the best and biggest categories that Altenew offers is their beautiful sets of florals. So for my final product that I've been loving for 2021 is the Rose Tea Outline Stamp Set and its coordinating die. Now I know Altenew has beautiful floral layering stamps, but I just can't resist the really real looking bloom and also real looking leaf in this set. And what I mean is the illustration on this stamp really results in a beautiful and realistic watercolor floral. If that's your watercolor style, this ended up being one of my favorite cards that I've made this year using this stamp set, and this was for Altenew Video Hop. So I love this stamp set. It's my favorite for 2021. So to do something similar to the card I just showed you, I'm going to use the watercolor paper sets again, as previously shown on the other card. So I stamped my outlines onto the watercolor panels. The two inks I used were from Frozen Delights, so that's strawberry and pistachio. So just before, I'll dispense some of this ink onto an acrylic block. And then I'll quickly watercolor all of the images. By doing this tone-on-tone effect, I can kind of fake no outline coloring. So after watercoloring the leaves and roses, I'll use the coordinating dies for all of the images. I assembled this card by foam mounting the smaller panel on top of the other dry embossed panel. I arranged my flowers and foam mounted them, and then I also foam mounted the little bee image right in the center of my card. I added a sentiment strip from the earlier stamp set, Modern Hello, and then finished this card with a few antique gold sequins to complement the shine on the bee. And that finishes this last card featuring a few more favorites from 2021. So again, that's the Tree Bark 3D embossing folder. My favorite 2x3 stamp set or mini stamp set. That's the Mini Delight Be Kind. And then my favorite floral stamp set of the year is Rose Tea Stamp and Die Bundle. So I've already had a glimpse of what's coming for 2022 in the Altenew shop, and I hope you're just as excited as I am to start playing with some of these new items. For the last few moments of 2021, this is what I've chosen to be my top 10 of the year. My series encourages you to shop your existing Altenew stash and rekindle their love with newer releases. Perfect Pairings with Jaycee airs on the Altenew channel every second and fourth Sunday of the month. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in to this perfect pairing episode with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello there! Are you still looking for project ideas and card making inspirations? Well, if you are, look no further. We have tons here at the Altenew YouTube channel. You can also subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that we do upload. To help keep your creative juices flowing, we have a couple more videos that you can watch here too. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.